All right. And now we are live. So it is 10:26 p.m. my time, which is Eastern Standard. And today is May 24th, 2017. And now we are live. So it is. I hate it when that happens. The topic of discussion for today is, should Christians mock creationists? What exactly do I mean by that? Well, this actually wasn't my idea. I'm pointing the finger at Thaddeus. All Thaddeus' idea. Thaddeus' fault. Whatever happens, the blowback will come back to Thaddeus. But no, Thaddeus, you basically, this hangout is based on a true story. No, this hangout is based on a post that Thaddeus had made earlier, and we talked about it, and we said, hey, we should make a Google Hangout on this. And so
I
Thaddeus,
don't know, man. Could you have at least like deflated the tires a little bit before you threw me under that bus?
well, it was a great idea and all. However, what I would encourage you to do is in the near future, don't be so divisive.
You mean?
No, but,
Come on, man. I'm not one of you. I don't need to police myself. Only a little bit. Well, only what I feel I need to police myself on.
yeah, like there needs to be like a group of like misotheists. Like I think your position is like very, very honest. Like you're like, yeah, sure. Like Jesus could be God's son, but I don't care. Like
I don't know. I think that's one of the most honest positions you could take. There's a lot of people that just identify as they believe in a God, but they're non-religious. That's basically me. All I'm doing with adding the misotheist label on is basically saying, okay, to I guess to an extent, I guess that means I hate God, because that's what all the fundamentalist people like to say and point to that verse in the Bible. If you're not for him, you're against him, kind of thing, you know. So,
well, you don't. I wouldn't say. Well, do you hate God? Like I don't know. I can't answer that question for you. Only you can answer that question.
I don't know. I mean, hate's such a strong word. I like to use strongly dislike, but I guess that also means hate. So I mean, it loops back around again.
I guess so. Well, it's an honest position. I wouldn't say every person who doesn't believe, because the funny thing is, the argument goes people who don't believe in God hate God, but you do, like, you accept that yes, there is a creator. I just don't like him, and like I think that's okay. Like you don't have to like God. That's cool. Yeah.
So, do you want me to read the post, or what did you want me to do? Because you wanted me to bring up that Google Plus thing.
Oh yeah. Read that. So I'm gonna share your screen, but can you share? Are you on a computer or on the on phone?
I'm a screen share. I can do that.
Yeah, you can screen share. I'll present you to the beautiful people.
Okay. Hang on. Screen share. Screen share. Why doesn't it let me just share that window? Because the screen share on this thing is weird.
Wait, you could do that too. Whichever one you like.
Oh, there we go. Now I can actually select a singular window like that. That's nice. Okay. All right. So this is the post I originally made. I tagged two people in it that I thought this really applied to, that their names kind of came to mind specifically when it came to this kind of issue in the Great Debate community. So I basically said, little food for thought for those of y'all who are be calling yourself Christians but like to laugh at the creationists and the flat earthers with the skeptic side of the Great Debate community. Don't any of y'all find it very unchristian-like to be mocking and scoffing at people like True Empiricism, Antonio Fletcher, and Tommy Hall because they have some anti-science stances on things, or stances on things that you feel are wrong? Do you think Jesus approves of your actions of basically laughing at these people? Perhaps you should say that kind of stuff for people like Steve McRae. Sure, what they say is stupid at times, but as a non-Christian, people like me, Pin Valentine, and such are free to mock and such. We don't have a theological label we are trying to be the ambassadors of. We can do what we want. But the Christians who mock and scoff at other Christians' bad science and views on the world contrary to their own in this community Are you really that much better than the atheists at this point? Wouldn't God want you to be able to work with them instead of exposing their stupidity? Do you think Jesus approves of Red Lion's little show? Basically, give y'all something to think about. And I already got one comment, but that's all I got. I thought I'd get a lot more, man. But
And what did Fiona said? She said anyone can say something dumb. Their problem is what they then do when it's pointed out that they're wrong. I don't laugh at someone because they're dumb or said something dumb unless they then arrogantly call everyone else dumb for trying to correct them and point blank refuse to learn. I'm inviting Fiona and Jake because whenever anybody is discussed in like a hangout or something like that, I think it's just fair for them to come in and like defend themselves and stuff.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I think that's a good thing too. That way we can hear it from their point of view, and then we don't twist their words or just try to guess what exactly their position is because they're not there at the moment. I don't like doing that.
Well, yeah, I mean it's your post, so
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like them to be able to defend and see what they're how they justify what they do. Because to me, it just seems like it's just like people are basically caught up in the whole tribalism of this community, where everybody kind of has their own little cliques and stuff that they like to stick around. Like some people, despite them being Christians, they belong more to the skeptic clique, and their association with the skeptic clique seems to be a lot more important than their faith, in my opinion. Like sometimes you just forget some of these people are even Christians. Like, I'm not trying to pull a G-man here and say, oh, Jade and Fiona aren't Christians. I think they definitely are. But I do think that it's possible that almost not see them that way because they're barely ever addressing their faith instead of just pointing out the stupidity of true empiricism like the rest of the skeptics of this community are. So it doesn't feel like it. I'm not going to say they aren't, but just as like a general, like you don't get that gist from them, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. So there are Christians like in the YouTube community, or you could say like YouTube world or whatever, who because they're always like giving an apologetic. They're always like defending the Bible or why they think God exists and stuff like that. And you don't have to do those things so you can be a Christian. The only thing that deems somebody a Christian is they believe that Jesus Christ and is alive. That's it. But like you said, to forget somebody holds to that position when they don't talk about it. So I guess I would just encourage Fiona and Jade to just talk about their faith some more. I don't like they know like nobody will make fun of them or anything or whatever. Just I would like even from I know Jade and Fiona are both Catholics. I would personally like to see them like Catholic faith against like people like G-Man and stuff like that. Because I know G-Man something like Catholics aren't Christians or something like that. So
Quite a
even
few
if they're
people
like
feel like that.
yeah, well, even if they had like a hangout where they say, hey, like we're Catholics, and this is why we think that Catholics can be deemed as Christians or whatever. Like, that I would like that. And CA and CM, what's up?
Doing good.
Not much. We would kind of side with the with G-Man on the whole Catholics thing, except we wouldn't be as aggressive as he is about it.
Or
Really? You don't think Catholics are
Oh, by the
Christians?
way, you're still presenting me to everybody. Maybe you can.
Oh, sorry about that.
I mean
You don't have to.
Thaddeus is a nice individual, but I don't have to look at him the entire time.
I mean, come on. You got my face here, right? You got me. So
Exactly.
Man.
So
Christian man's
and me and CA are handsome devils. So
no, wrong. We're handsome angels. Get it right now. We have
right, brother.
There you go. But yeah, we me and Christian man, we don't think that Catholics are Christians. At least if they fully affirm Roman Catholicism, which I have some hope for with Jade and Fiona, since they actually deny some essentials of Catholicism.
Well, it's weird because I don't actually see I don't really. It's hard because I still see them as like a type of Christian, but I don't know if they would be like legit Christians or not. Because I was raised that Catholics are not real Christians by my mom, so I mean I kind of have that in there. But I mean that could just be like a bias, almost. It's almost you could say it's like a prejudice or something just because of how I was raised. I haven't really looked into the issue enough to really say that with confidence and say, nope, no way Catholics are not Christians. There's absolutely no way they can be. I don't have that kind of knowledge, but
And
yeah.
unlike and just so that you know, Wayne, unlike G-Man, I will actually read the Catholic Catechism to see what Catholicism actually teaches.
Exactly, that's what he's been doing. Apparently, he keeps telling me that like he's read a new section of the Catechism, and I'm still waiting to get myself a physical copy of that. Until then, I'm gonna have to read the online version they have on their website.
Well, there you go. At least you're doing research into it before you start
Well,
spewing stuff.
well, I mean, that's my whole thing. Is like if I'm refuting Seventh Day Adventism, Islam, or any of those, I have to look into their sources to
Yeah,
see
don't tell
if
like a whole bunch of lies about what they believe.
right, because I want to be honest in what and
Yeah.
represent the person accurately, as well as even get the Catholic scholars involved. And that's the interesting thing is I wrote a paper a while back showing that not just even church history proves that there wasn't a pope or an
Yeah.
idea of Peter being the pope until sometime in the mid to late second century,
Yeah,
and
don't
even Roman Catholic bishops and scholars that I've noted in the text of my paper
Yeah, boy,
noted
don't
this.
don't be saying they worship Mary now if they don't.
I don't think they worship Mary, but they do put her in a very high status that I
That
think
almost seems like worship to me.
right. It's putting her in a very high place, especially in regards to a doctrine that didn't exist in the church back then, but started to. I think it was like what the 80s or the 90s that it started being introduced. Was the idea of her being mediatrix.
Okay.
Well,
For
I do know they
redemptrix.
put her in a high position because of the whole original sin thing. Mary has to be immaculate because if Jesus is born through this sinful woman and we all inherit sin like genetics.
Right. But
Yeah,
it's not
Mary.
just that though.
But
They take that and interpret it in that sense, and they try to add, oh, but because she gave birth to him, that means she has some divine quality. But of course, they also have to indicate, oh, that she's a virgin, that she's always remained a virgin, that she didn't have any more children afterwards. So there's also some kind of sinlessness or divine thing there. But then, of course, they also, as of recently,
Curious, I wonder.
they made the idea that along with Christ able to at least I'm just barely remembering it so far, but the idea of co-mediatrix is something that even a guy that I very much respect in regards to Roman Catholic scholarship and apologetics is Mitch Pacwa. He was like protesting against the idea of the Catholic Church passing this as an idea for dogma. The idea of Mary being co-mediatrix, meaning that she sort of shares a sort of work on the atonement and forgiveness of sins. All that.
Oh, so if we inherit sin just like DNA and genetics and stuff, which chromosome's the sin one?
Huh?
Oh, I get your joke.
I wish we still had the thing on Google Plus. Ta-da-da!
But yeah, at least when I'm looking at the Wikipedia so far, I mean, like I said, Christian Man probably might have the catechism in front of him, and he might. I don't know if it's on there or not, but what I'm reading is
I don't have the catechism at the moment.
right. So it says that the Virgin Mary, as well as the Catholic theological concept, referring to Mary's role in the redemption of man. So this has been a controversial issue even among Catholics because it's basically saying that in the redemption of man to being justified in God's eyes, along with Christ, Mary had a role in bringing about this redemption. And to me, that's a problem, because nowhere in the text does it say this. Nowhere in the Bible does it say this. Instead,
Hmm.
that's why some people say, well, we have to refer to the traditions of the church, and some people thought this, so therefore that must mean it. Even though there is no text anywhere in the Bible that indicates that Mary had some role in the redemption of man over sin and through justification.
Don't you love that logic?
Yeah, but like
So-
God
That's
could have
what we
chose anybody,
say
right?
back.
Right. God could have been like, I choose this person or whatever, so they can, do whatever, and like.
Wait,
Yeah.
what?
But my no, but bringing it back to like the topic of the discussion.
Mhm.
I do think that I think that if like if the Christians who like hang, because like I was just to hang out with skeptics earlier today, so it's not a problem like Christians hang around skeptics or people who don't have like Christian beliefs or anything, but I think it's not fruitful to continuously criticize the Christians in the fundamentalist cat, because it doesn't get anything done. It's just
It's just
like,
a waste of time, first of all.
yeah, like I just see it as like a waste. Like all that
Right.
effort and time, like the Christians or even the skeptics. Yes, I'm quoting the skeptics. Like they could like do so much beneficial things for like the community besides like talk about
what true
rioting.
talk about what true empiricism did today, or something like that.
Yeah, so I just
basically become like the TMZ of true empiricism.
Yeah. I mean, there have been times me and G-Man have occasionally gotten into like big disputes, but we end up reconciling each other occasionally, and then we continue to promote each other on these certain things. I mean, like recently, I mean, the whole thing was about like we had a big falling out apparently because the whole thing that General Han Solo said, and then because of that, he refused to have a debate that we'd schedule like at least a month in advance, and he canceled it because of something that General said, and said General Han Solo is a part of your ministry, so get rid of him. And so we had that fallen out at that point, which of course later on, General recanted his statement and said that he finds that G-Man's actually showing this Christ-like behavior that he's been wanting to see and understand what some of these things were. And so he recants his statement. So that kind of settled things down. And then, of course, the whole thing with the flat out elected group comes about. I kind of lend a supporting hand to him in there. And we now occasionally, we'll still talk to each other on Skype and such. So sometimes there's fallen outs, but I think ultimately what the Christian thing to do is to reconcile at times, so that way find a common goal. And I think the thing that me and G-Man share so much in common is that we both have a heavy emphasis on preaching the gospel, getting the gospel message out there. He definitely has a way of doing that to a new group of people known as the Hebrew Israelites. I deal with people in anime conventions and just the South in general, which I find is difficult to witness to at times, honestly. So yeah, I think that what we should do is, while we have disagreements, we need to realize also that there's a time and place for that, but we can't just make that every single time we're online or we're in a room with each other. That has to be the result of bashing each other.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
there's a time to reconcile what the essentials that we share and
Yeah.
come to loving one another. Because I mean people like Beckel and Wolf King, for example, they got into it back then, over the issues of wanting to debate certain things. But I've then seen where they've been in hangouts and they're both anime fans and they're both talking about, hey, did you check out this anime? Like, oh yeah, I remember that anime. And I'm like, this is a prime example right here. But yet
Yeah.
there's some people that just don't, that even there, that people that just, and even there's just certain Christians, as soon as I see, for example, Beckel trying to defend the virgin birth on a podcast, against Hebrew Israelites. I share this, and then a guy, Huckleberry guy, just commented and said, "Oh, look, the guy that supported slavery, Beckel, is talking about this. He can't defend anything if he's supposed to be supporting slavery. I bet you he would support the slavery of women." And then I'm like,
Make up a whole
okay,
bunch of other stuff.
you missed what the whole video is. Like, I don't care if he says this, he's evil or something like that. I'm like, okay.
You don't have to agree with everything everybody says. I mean, I was going to say that the fact that you, Christian Ericus, can team up with someone like G-Man shows that it's possible for other people to do so as well. Because you guys are very radically different personalities, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you guys can work together, for the common good of your faith or whatnot, then others can as well. If skeptics and Christians can get along, like, Wolf King with Veckel, and the whole thing where G-Man actually ended up meeting up with some of these people, like at that one, like in real life.
Yeah.
Like,
and I think sometimes,
and all that, and it's like if that can happen, and it's like if even the skeptics can, have like a good time, like just treat each other like as human beings at times, then I'm pretty sure Christians go to other Christians they don't agree with as well.
Yeah, I think it. I mean, I think sometimes it needs to take a certain event to bring people together in these types of circumstances. For example, and this may sound like the Calvinist out of me, but I think God used the flat-out elected group to reconcile me and G-Man together at that point. It was predestined to happen, so that way we could then be reconciled at that point. He took something that was so terrible in argumentation that it ultimately brought about some good.
Oh, yeah.
Man. I hate to burst your bubble about the flat elected thing, but there's a good chance that the two of the main people on there are trolls. There's a good chance even Rose is a troll.
I doubt Rose is a troll, but I know that Pillbox is, and I'm starting to be very much more convinced that Ran is a troll at this point, since I commented on the video he made where he basically said that G-Man tried to make threats to beat up Rose Patton. Look, right here on live video, G-Man threatening to physically beat up Rose Patton. And I was like, oh, here come the liberals on this one.
Here comes the SJWs.
There you go. That's ultimately what they are, because, like,
they get triggered when you're one way, showing that the verses don't equal flat Earth.
Well, it's not just that. It's like on other issues, they're like the government. Pillbox, yeah, man, it's okay to smoke the weed, but Bible doesn't prohibit it, man. And
that explains Pillbox.
Yeah, and you have people like what's her name, the knowledge scavenger, whoever, basically saying that there are women bishops and leaders and such, and it's only because she wants to support this idea of women have a chance to be stronger over men or something in regards of position and rank in the church. And I think historically and biblically that's not accurate. God. There's a sense of an equality. But,
wow, we're covering all kinds of topics today. I didn't bring this up.
but the point being, trying to get back, is that you have all these crazy people and they're following all these ideas. I disagree with them. G-Man disagrees with them. It's like we're trying to, go back on them on that, and then it's like, wait, did we just agree on something that we're disagreeing on? G-Man like, I think we did. It's like, yo, you want to like reconcile brother in Christ? And like, yeah, why not? So I don't know, kind of like that kind of whole thing. Goes on. So I think the same thing can happen for like some of the Christians in the community, as well as even some of the Catholics. Again, yes, I'm going to make that distinction because that's just my conscience speaking.
That's one of the reasons.
As well as, you know, them all reconciling with people like Tommy Hall and true empiricism and such.
I was like, that's one of the things I find kind of interesting about the communities, because it brings all these different people together that in real life, you know, we might not ever meet them. But
Right.
since there's certain people that are discussing things that they feel very passionately or have an interest in, it brings them all together. And then basically, because we discuss things such as science and religion and theology and philosophy and all that, it basically puts these people into different groups and camps and all that, and tribalism, and, you know, and all those different things, to the point where people are really separated and divided. And then you know, all it takes is for someone like me or whatnot to go into a hangout or whatever, be there long enough so that the thing goes off air. And then when people just start talking and joking around, it's like you can get to know them as a human being. All of a sudden, the fact that I'm, you know, a misotheist with some of these people doesn't matter, because we're just all human beings at the end of the day. Like, we can just put all the different faith stuff aside, all different doctrine things that people don't agree with, or the different science things people don't agree with. And at the end of the day, you know, just get to know them more on like a human level, like, you know, what their work is, you know, what type of music they like, you know, what type of TV shows they like, you know, all the average everyday things that you don't end up hearing a lot on this community, because everybody just cares so much about what the person believes. And we form these alliances and that just based on that. I don't know, I think it's like a really interesting psychological case studies about just how divided us people we would be if we just focused on what somebody believed, as far as whether they should be in our friend circle or we should trust them or treat them like they are our enemies or whatnot. Because that would be a pretty scary place if the rest of the world worked like that.
Right. By the way, Wayne, you there?
Yep.
All right, I'm about to head out, but I do want to ask you a couple of questions. One, have you ever seen my original sin debate that's on my channel?
No.
If you ever get a chance, take a look at that. I think that might be interesting into the conversation. And second, would you ever like to have a discussion on the issue of original sin with me?
Sure.
All right. Anyways, I got to get going. Work's about to start up again for the final shift, but I will see y'all another time.
All right,
See you, man.
Shalom.
I don't know, Wayne, did you agree with what I was saying?
Yeah. You know, it's funny because I'm in a program right now, where it's teaching us about soft skills and professionalism, and basically getting us in the mindset of being ready to go into a corporate environment. And one of the things that they're trying to break us out of is this sense of tribalism, where people usually gravitate to people who are like them, who like the same things they like and they agree on everything they agree with already. And so people will make cliques and they'll start to form groups.
Yeah, and we see this here in the community too, even on the internet.
Right. And so you don't want to do that in a corporate environment, because it'll definitely take away from your opportunity to network with new people, with new faces, people who might be able to help you advance in your career. And it's the same thing in the community, where we seem to have formed cliques and tribal groups with each other, right? And so I think we do have to break each other out of that, and like you said, hold each other accountable, because it's actually affecting our, I don't even know if this is an actual word, but our togetherness.
Yeah, like people are really divided to the point where, sure, there's Steve McRae's official Great Debate community little group thing that he made using the Google Plus groups thing, communities thing that you can do, but not everybody that's part of the Great Debate community is even part of that thing. And even though there's a lot of people that are technically, or you could say are loosely part of the community, but they will never actually join that group, because it's like, oh, it's Steve McRae and his little group of skeptics. So it's like you can't even define the community.
But that
just
is little. little group of skeptics? 600 people, an entire army of skeptics.
Compared to the rest of the internet, though, as far as all the different little fringe groups and that aren't part of that community, though, because I mean it goes a lot bigger than you think. I mean, flat out elected, those people I'd still consider them part of this community because they interact with the same kind of people, like G-Man and all that. But they're kind of a fringe thing. Like they're not actually part of that great debate community.
Yeah, but they're one of the largest people who actually debate online. They're like 600 plus members. I guess it matters on perspective.
Yeah, it does. Okay, well, maybe I was wrong to call them little, but my point still stands, I think. It's dividing it to the point where even for newcomers to like find a thing, it's like you're only getting a really small portion. Like if Steve McRae invites you to the Great Debate community, you're only really being invited to one little group within the Great Debate community. Like the skeptic group, but you're not actually being invited to. You might not even know people like. Well, I guess if they talk about them enough, but you might not even know people like G-Man circles exist or the flat out elected people exist, and I still consider them kind of part of the community. And I think that those fringe groups, like even the Calvinist Council, that they still have their role to play. And if you just ignore them, you're only getting one side of the picture. Some people say, "Oh, I don't want to talk to those people because they're idiots." It's like, well, you're missing out on some interesting conversations and stuff. Even things that I don't believe, whatever. Like here's the thing: I don't believe in the flat Earth. I think the idea is stupid. I'd like to be able to have more of an open conversation about it, but Flat Out Elected doesn't want to let me in their channel. And
because I got that echo chamber going on there.
Yeah, but the thing is that just because I find it stupid, I still find the idea fascinating. Like I've sat there and watched like some of those flat Earth videos and all. It's like it's still a stupid idea, but it would be really interesting if that was true. And it's interesting to see somebody else's way of thinking about things and how they try to rationalize it in their minds when certain people come up with, "Oh, how do you explain this and how do you explain that?" And just to see what their thought process is. I just find it very interesting, even if it's not a very good explanation. I just find it really interesting other people's thought processes. It's a very good psychological case study, in my opinion. It just really gets you into the minds of some of these people that think differently from your average everyday person.
Hey, Wayne, you don't mind if I I bring in Ecclesiastes into the room, right, Matthew?
Nah, bring it in. And Ouchiwawa, you haven't even said a word. How you doing, man? What you been up to?
Well, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just
Okay.
fine.
Well, I finished my master's, so I'm preparing to move now.
Clap, you guys. Clap. That is the pettiest clap
Wayne?
I've ever heard in my life. That clap was a clap of jealousy and deceit.
I thought more people would clap.
That's the clap. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Ouchiwawa.
Ouchiwawa got his master's degree.
Yeah.
He's more qualified to talk about science than Bill Nye still.
That's funny.
What's up, guys?
So topical.
LLC.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, school Christian. I don't know
Nothing much. How are you guys doing?
Wayne, the topic was should Christians laugh at creationists? You said, or
yeah, should Christians not creationists? Meaning, should Christians who accept mainstream science be what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. I got like a brain fart right now.
Staying young with creationism or something like that.
Yeah, should they like particularly like mock people who don't hold the mainstream science or whatever? So.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I don't believe Christians should laugh at creationists because, first off, Christians are creationists like me, even though I believe in evolution, I'm still a creationist to just a different kind. You know what I mean? That's the first reason I would say no. Christians should not mock creationists, because Christians, that entails that you're a creationist. Yeah, I mean,
And second, you're like, I don't mean like to jump into your thing, LC, but second, you're just doing like an ad hominem fallacy, and you're just not really. What you should really be doing, if you're concerned with about Christians who take with views you don't necessarily agree with or unscientific views, you should try helping them.
I think we should
mocking
focus them, or even using a scientific case, some what Scripture says instead. Because
Yeah.
the reason I reject,
You're
one
breaking
time
up.
I was talking, like, for example, some young Earth creationists will argue from Mark 10:6 or whatever, that when it says from the beginning God made them male and female, therefore the earth is young. That's one of the things that young Earth creationists will often use, like AIG. But the problem is, I really don't see how this proves a young Earth. You know what I mean? It's like all it says is that from the beginning God created the male and female, and it doesn't even say Adam and Eve. It says from the beginning of creation God made them male and female. So it could be meaning like throughout creation, God was making his creatures with male gender and female gender. You know what I mean? So
I think that doesn't really. I don't think that works so well. I think he was probably talking about humans. So, but other than that, I agree that it doesn't have to be literally Adam and Eve.
yeah, but the thing I would say is that it doesn't necessarily have to be only humans, because if you look at it carefully, it says from the beginning of creation. Humans weren't created until day 6. So I would say, I don't know what you believe, but what's your name? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Achua.
Achua.
Achua. I'm sorry, Achua. Anyways, what I would say to the YEC Achua is that this doesn't mean only humans, because humans were not made in the beginning of creation.
Well, it didn't
Because
say at the beginning.
humans were not created until day 6, even if we accept that Adam and Eve were the first.
But it doesn't say beginning of creation. It just says from the beginning.
It says,
so that could be from the beginning of mankind as well.
let me look at it again. Mark 10:6.
Because I mean, if you're doing literally at the beginning, there were no animals on the first day. I don't think. And also, you have to consider that there are animals that that are not just male or female. They have, well, asexual organisms for one.
Yeah.
Hermaphrodites.
Let's see. Mark. Actually, yes, it does say from, but at the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. Let me read from the ESV, because this is what I prefer. But from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. So actually, yes, it does entail that it's not necessarily talking about only humans.
I'll have to look into that. Sometimes, interpretations are different.
Yeah, but if you look at it carefully, I think Mark 10:6 means exactly what it says, meaning God simply made his creatures from the beginning of his creation with the genders of male and female. So that's all it really says.
Or Hugh Ross even put it this way. He said in the context in which Jesus was responding to the question, he would have meant in the beginning of marriage, God made the male and female. So that's a more, I guess, scholarly approach to it. I like Hugh Ross's defense of it.
I see. And I mean, either way, I think this is irrelevant to the idea of this is like, for example, Darwin's deity argues that because of verses like Matthew 19:3-4 and this
He argues
one,
a lot of things. Sorry, go on.
yeah, he does. But anyways, not just him though. Lots of young Earth creationists will argue because of verses like Mark 10:6, Matthew 19:3-4, Exodus 20:11, etc., that the Earth is young because of these passages. But of course, as I would say, really, when he pointed this out to me, I was like, I really don't see how Matthew 19:3-4 or Mark 10:6 proves the Earth is young, because it doesn't really say even if we accept that it is talking about creation, that still doesn't say anything about the link. It just says that God made them male and female. So I don't see how this proves a young Earth. You know what I mean? Because,
What were they then?
well, I mean, I'm saying, even if I weren't an evolutionist, that still, even if it does mean evolution isn't true, it still doesn't mean a young Earth is true, because lots of old Earth creationists like Hugh Ross believe in special creation. You know what I mean?
Well, the idea of Adam and Eve isn't inconsistent with evolution anyway.
No, of course it's not. And that's why I have no problem with accepting it. Because
Yeah.
so yeah, no, of course it isn't.
How?
Well, Adam and Eve would be the first two people to sin, and that'd be the first two humans to sin. I mean, admittedly, it'd make more sense if we were going to talk about Adam and Eve, probably more as a group of people, and it was just more. See, I don't even think that there were literally Adam and Eve, but I don't think it's in because it would just be.
That's where I would disagree with a lot of like evolutionary creationists, because I think it's too easy to say that in the words of you guys, it's not literal. I do think Genesis is literal, whether it's a poem or whether it's historical. Like you take it as it was supposed to be written, right? So like I don't think Paul or Moses was trying to give us biology, but in the same sense, I do think it could be argued that Adam and Eve were in fact historical because they had children. The Garden of Eden had actual it had a real geological location. I think it could be argued that Adam and Eve were historical figures, but you don't need to accept that they were the first humans. You can still believe in a historical Adam and historical Eve, and like you said, like they could just be one of many, right? As a matter of fact, the name Adam means the human. So like he wasn't given like some really special specific name.
Hey, I'm agnostic on the age of the Earth, right? And you can be that without being an evolutionist if you think about it like this. Moses, they say Moses wrote the first 5 books, but there is no date to when the beginning was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Wait, say that one more time.
I mean, there is no date to when the beginning was. I know we get into the names of, the children and stuff. Well, I can see why young Earth creationists they do think that. I don't know, but after the creation, right? On day 6 of man, there's a lot of people just jump to, boom, they fell and sinned. But if you look at Genesis, I think it's 1 or 2. Nah, it's 1. All right, 1 second, just bear with me.
Don't worry about it.
Genesis 1. I'm using the New Bible.
What translation are you using?
King James.
You're not a onlyist, are you?
Oh my goodness. Is it a debate about everything?
No, I'm just curious. And
yeah, I am, but it's not like I hold it like everything else is false. Nah, I think everybody can come to God through the translations.
Okay, good.
But I think that there are some things in these translations that take from the Word of God. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But anyways.
Hold on 1 second. All right. Genesis 1:20. Here it is. 28. 1:28. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. The key word is multiply. Now, I think you can actually read into, or even I don't even think it's a reason to read into that, because they were free. They were free to be fruitful and multiply, and then the fall came. Like, do you think that man fell on the eighth day?
No, of course not.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
by eighth day of, if you mean like eighth day of creation, I would say first there is no eighth day of creation.
no, not creation, but the eighth day. The eighth day is after Genesis 1. I mean, yeah, after Genesis 1.
Yeah, after God had finished his work, and
Exactly.
Yeah, and I would say to people, you don't want to take it too literally, because if you take it too literally, then you'd have to say that God literally rested on day 7. But I would say, but there's a problem with that, because God never grows weak or weary. So when it says that he rested, it simply means he finished his work. And so he stopped creating everything because he was all done.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I never thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah, because we want to be careful with how we interpret things. And plus, you'll also see that day 7 doesn't have the evening and morning pattern like the first 6 days.
Well, I mean, especially if you use evolution, because I mean, then he has half his work cut out for him. He's going to think of all the different individual species. You have to create everything from scratch. You have to imagine everything to poof it into existence. That's a lot of different species and subspecies. And
yeah, he doesn't necessarily.
Then maybe you would need a rest.
But
I'm joking.
You don't necessarily have to, but in my opinion, that would show God's power better, because he doesn't have to have everything he would like in order to create everything. He can make it from what he has. You know what I mean? That's why I think in certain cases this kind of understanding of God's creation actually better shows his power. What would you say?
I think when we go to heaven, God is not going to like test us on any of this, so it's really like irrelevant. I like what Heavy said. Like, if I'm a farmer somewhere, planting my crops and doing my thing as a farmer, like, why does any of this matter?
Hey, that's what I've been saying for a long time when it comes to this community. Some of the things I'm interested in, but other things, it's like, dude, you guys go way too far into it, man. It's like, he's got to relax a little. I'm sure there's not going to, I don't think there's going to be a big test at the end for you guys.
You've got a point, yeah. And that's why I often like to focus more on essential values like the Trinity, because
is that really essential though? I mean, I didn't even understand it that much back when I was growing up. It was just kind of a thing, but I thought that wouldn't really like matter, because I was all about if you believe Jesus died on the cross and you accepted him into your life and all that stuff.
Well, that's true. That is part of it. Like, you do have to believe those things to be a Christian, but there's a problem though.
What?
If you deny the Trinity, then you, like, say you were a Christian, and say you were a Jehovah's Witness who believes that Christ is a created being. If we got into that kind of idea, that would propose so many theological problems that definitely endanger someone of hell. Because the thing is, that would be first off.
Okay, but
go ahead.
Okay, but why in the world would it matter? Like, why does it matter so much about understanding the Trinity itself? I understand the whole Jehovah's Witness thing if they believe he's like an angel or whatnot instead of actually, Son of God, also God at the same time, whatever. But why does it matter so much to understand like the Trinity itself?
Because
as far as it
because
essential.
it's an essential.
Because I didn't even understand it that much. I don't think that should be an issue. That's more reasons for me to think Christianity is stupid. No offense.
Here's the reason why. The reason why it's important is because when people attack the Trinity, a lot of times they'll show that Christ is not the Father. They'll show that Jesus is distinct from the Father. Like, they'll show that Christ prayed to him. They'll, like in John 17:3, they'll say they'll point to verses where it says, I do nothing of my own authority, but the Father who sent me, and stuff like that. And they'll often attack the distinction between Christ and the Father or Christ and the Spirit. But I would say, but the thing is, that's not what the Trinity teaches. The Trinity doesn't teach that Jesus is the Father or that the Spirit is the Father, etc. But the Trinity teaches that there is one God. God is three coexisting eternal persons, and each person is fully God, as inspired philosophy points it. The Father is God.
I and the Father are one.
A lot of times, even modalists will use this kind of verse to prove that Jesus is the Father. But I would say, read it in its historical context. It's not saying they're ontologically one. He's saying that they're one in the ability to give eternal life.
Well,
So,
they would have the same essence, right?
of course, they have the same essence, yeah. But in the context, he's not saying that he is the Father. He's saying that
Right.
both have the authority to give eternal life.
Yeah, I think what he was saying there is that they're one and that they're both God, basically, that they have the same essence. They're distinct in in the fact that they're distinct persons.
Yeah,
in the Trinity, kind of like this is something that I've come up with, and this could have problems, but kind of like how Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are 1/3 of God.
That's partialism, Patrick.
That's
partialism, Patrick.
No. But I'm saying that they're distinct, but they need to be. But in order to be one, because it's one, they're 1/3 of the one.
You mean? Excuse me. I'm sorry. What?
Father, God, and Holy Spirit. Father, God, and Holy Spirit are like 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, but they have to be. But they're one.
Well, you got to be careful with how you say that, though, because if you say that to someone like Matt Slick, he'll ask you if you're a partialist. So you got to be careful with how you say that.
Yeah, that would be a heresy.
Yes, yes, like I said, that's the teaching of partialism, and that is not a biblical teaching.
Oh, dang it!
What did he say?
I hate to break it to you, but I mean that's for me is where it gets kind of dumb. I mean, I understand, like, you don't want to believe something that's too far out there, but as far as someone not understanding quite how that works, because it already is a hard concept to get your mind around, it's like, it doesn't say in the Bible whoever so understand the Trinity, how three people can exist at the same time but also be separate, is saved. No, it's talking about, believing what Jesus did and accepting that he's God.
Yeah, that's true. And God doesn't expect us to understand how it works. He never asks us to understand it. He just asks us to know that that's what he teaches, that's who he is, and that if we don't believe that in the Bible, then we're not Christians. Does that make sense? He doesn't expect us to understand it. He just expects us to know to believe that it's true. And if we don't, we're in danger of hell.
I think it's more just rejecting things whenever you have like the ability to know the truth there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly, because we can use the Bible to know God.
So does that mean, like, if you read in the Bible that it does seem like a flat Earth book, and then you find out that you don't want to hold on to you want to hold on to your round Earth beliefs?
Well,
that means because a lot of flat Earthers are like, well, you're basically just rejecting the truth, what it says in the Bible now. So you're basically
flat Earthers are just taking passages out of context most of the time.
Are they though? Because here's the thing, me and Wayne kind of both agree that when you read the Bible, it kind of does seem like a flat Earth book, but that's okay because it wasn't meant to be read as scientifically.
That has to be forced into the text, though.
No, the Bible doesn't seem like a flat Earth book. It is a flat Earth book. The people who wrote it believed that the Earth was flat, and I'm cool with that. Christians really need to stop fighting it because a lot of 21st century Christians do is they read into the text modern science.
Thank you.
That's very dangerous because the people who wrote the text didn't know anything about your modern science.
So it's not divine. It's not divine.
It is divine.
It is divine. It's just
oh no.
It's just
no. No, it's divine because God was the one who inspired these people to write it down. Whether they believed in modern science or not, it's irrelevant because God inspired these people. That's it.
Yeah,
I mean,
all I'm saying is that, yeah,
it's
exactly.
not completely divine then if men are putting their terms of science in the scripture.
You know, see, I hate to do this, but when you really think about it, it's like he's got a good point.
Yeah,
Who did?
if you're saying that it's just men putting their science into scripture,
It's not.
Yeah,
That was
then
Matthew
it's not
has a good
completely
point.
divine.
That wasn't the point, though. Like,
I think you're misunderstanding.
That's what I think about when I hear
wait.
people say that. Though.
Wait. Hang on. I think you're misunderstanding what Wayne's saying. I can understand why, but I think you're misunderstanding what Wayne's saying. I don't think that he's saying that that men just put their ideas into the Bible. I think he's just saying when they wrote it, they had their ideas, but they were told by God to write down. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't believe in a flat earth, of course. It just means that they were told to write it down, but what they believed was irrelevant. So,
Yeah, I mean, I've heard brothers that actually defeated flat earth with the scripture and with the Hebrew. So people are so quick to just abandon what the scripture's saying.
It's like if for
Whoa,
example,
everyone at a time. Everybody one at a time. Wayne, you go. I'm sorry to moderate your own
I was
call,
still
Wayne,
talking.
Yeah, wait. I just want to say the people who are saying the Bible is not a flat earth book and the Christians, they're wrong. The flat earthers have it right. The Bible was written from the context of people.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Then.
Mm-hmm.
The earth, didn't it say that the world is a circle, right? You remember that in the text?
The earth is not a circle.
I mean, it says that in what, Job, right? Or
No, but I'm saying like the reality of it is the earth is not a circle because a circle is not a three-dimensional construct. A circle
can I ask my
doesn't
question?
necessarily exists.
okay,
Brother? I mean, yeah. Is it does it say it in the text? That it's
Yeah. The Bible says Isaiah is it 40:22?
and what
right.
about it hangs on nothing?
Okay.
I mean, I think you could get an understanding of a circular Earth because even though we believe in a spherical Earth, of course, it's still circular in some manner. Because to say that that because it says it's circular, it's not. That could still be understood as a spherical idea of their time because people had different understandings. Like back then, people wouldn't have said spherical; they would have said circular.
because the Hebrew. I don't mean to interrupt you, LC.
No, go ahead.
But but you have to also understand that Hebrew had a very limited vocabulary as well. They didn't have a word for bat as
But
being a man.
Yeah, they said ball though. They'll bring that up, but they didn't use the word ball. They used circuit, like circle. Circle means circuit in Hebrew.
No, they did have a word for ball, and a couple verses
I
later,
said they did. I said they did.
Yeah, they did. And Isaiah didn't use ball when he described the earth because he thought it was flat.
If he totally knew it was like a sphere, why would he not use like more of a word that was like ball or a spherical kind of descriptive word instead of using just a basic circle? Like if I have, if my vocabulary, if I'm describing something that's like cylinder shaped or can shaped, I'm not going to describe it as I picked up the circle. It's like, no, I have a better word in my vocabulary.
But I mean,
that kind of thing. Sure, it does have a circular component to it. A cylinder is circular, but there's a way better word I could be using so people can get the better gist of what I'm saying. If they had access to a word that was that means like ball or sphere, something like that, when they have not used it in that context, they knew that the earth was spherical.
I mean, that's
why
like
would they use circle?
That's like saying if you knew something was I'll just stick to what I was gonna say. Maybe, and I do believe that God knows about people that were gonna idolize the flat earth, and maybe that He made it ambiguous. If you're being truthful, the book is ambiguous on the shape of the earth. That's all I can say about it. It's ambiguous. I wouldn't just say it's a flat earth book.
Yeah, I'm more in that camp. Like I'm more ambiguous, but I do see how you could use it to describe flat Earth. Like,
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you, it is a flat Earth, but you.
I
But
would
where are
go
you
as far
getting?
as
But whoa, whoa,
Wayne.
whoa, 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 everybody, Wayne. I want to ask. I'm sorry to be in your own hangout and kind of interrogating you, but which scholars have said it's a flat Earth besides Michael Heisner?
John Walton, right? John Walton is an ancient Near Eastern scholar. He will tell you this. Deborah Henderson, she's the president of BioLogos. Who else? Um, maybe Gleason Archer might even have something written towards that. But those are three. So Michael Heiser, Deborah Henderson, and anybody in like the BioLogos staff, they would agree. Like, yeah, it's a flat Earth, but
Hang on, isn't that kind of a fallacy though? Appealing to authority.
yeah, but
No, I'm not saying that to you. I'm saying more to Christian.
The thing is, when you look at the language that the Hebrews used when they wrote the Bible, it matches the same language other cultures use to describe what they believe, the firmament and the stars being in the sky. You had Sheol underneath and stuff like that.
The firmament in English was solid. You can actually go look this up yourself because even the flat earthers won't tell you this about the word firmament. Go to the 1828 dictionary and look up the word firmament on there. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, the 1828 dictionary. The Bible was written like how long ago?
I understand, but just the word that is used, firmament,
This is an
King
ancient
James
concept,
word.
not 1800
I
concept.
understand, Thaddeus, but go look it up. Does not always mean what they think it is. And by the way, if you're just going to say it because the Bible uses some language of that time, you're committing some type of logical fallacy of equivocation because they use something similar to their cult, to that culture.
Yeah, but like
Not really. That's not how the fallacy of equivocation works. I don't
yeah,
think.
it's not equivocation, but I can see your point because it could be argued. But God gave these people revelation, so they just knew and everybody else didn't know. But the biggest problem you have is if that is how inspiration worked, where God just miraculously gave Isaiah.
You about to say something? Wayne, are you there? Your mic cut out.
Uh-oh. Did he lose internet? Did his microphone fall out?
Who?
Did he pop out his my USB cord?
Did he die? Does someone else have to take over his channel?
Well,
Does
LC,
anyone know his password? I'm kidding.
What?
LC, what did you think of my argument, though? Was it any good?
My internet's not great here, so I might have missed a couple things. So what was it again? I'm sorry.
We were debating about the flat Earth, and he said, "No, the Bible is a flat Earth book." And I said, "Okay, besides any other scholar besides Michael Heisner, who holds to that view?"
Okay.
And he gave it a couple other scholars, and I'm like, "Okay, you have a point there," and I said, "Okay."
Wayne dropped connection, so the hangout might end if he doesn't come back soon.
Okay,
just let y'all know.
Continue.
It's not a flat Earth book. Before the show
one thing
ends.
though, it's not really trying. That's never was the point of any of those verses. It wasn't trying to teach people, and the Earth is flat, and that's something you need to believe. That's not anything close to what it says. It just happens to mention the circle of the Earth or whatever. So it seems to me like that wasn't really the point of any of these verses.
Yeah. Again, the people can believe what they believed at the time. It doesn't mean that part was what they were trying to teach people for the modern day.
And if God's inspiring them, He's inspiring them on religious and moral matters, not on science.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was about to say. I was about to say. Let's say that like you're one of those people that gets like divine revelations whatever from God, because there's a lot of modern day whack jobs out there that claim that they're prophets and stuff. And let's say that the way that you receive these revelations, he tells you stuff about what's going to happen like on the earth and all that. And when you're describing these events, you're writing them down so you can put them on your weird whack job conspiracy theory website. Let's say that you still believe that that the earth is like a sphere and all that. When in reality, maybe God's like so far above you or whatever that in this hypothetical scenario, let's say that instead of our universe being a 3-dimensional space, it's actually a 5-dimensional space. We exist in 5 dimensions and we just don't understand how the 2 other ones come into play. So all we are left with is just describing everything in the 3 dimensions, the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis. So when you're describing your things, you're describing things in 3D, not like that. When in reality, we could be living in a 5-dimensional universe. But the thing is, that doesn't really matter. The whole point is that, you're describing, what you think, God's telling you. And it's the same thing with the Bible. They're basically writing down, describing what God is telling them to write down. However, he's not telling them every single fact about how the universe works and all that. He's just giving them enough information. Here, write this, and they are still able to, perhaps use their own words to describe things and all that.
Yeah, like it's in a way explaining it to them in a way
like it doesn't matter. It's not relevant.
Yeah.
Whatever they think the earth is shaped like or whatnot. So God could have very well left them to their own devices for them to believe that the earth is flat and kind of put that in the Bible.
Yeah. Or he
Exactly.
could just be telling them that in a way that they would understand.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
What
Hey,
were you
Wayne,
going to
I'm
say?
sorry
man?
if I acted like a hey Wayne. I'm sorry if I acted like a jerk.
I felt like I was like in a Nazi interrogation room.
I'm sorry.
Where are the Jews? Where are the Jews?
Oh man, don't go there. Wait, what were you going to say though? Because you just cut out.
I don't know what I was going to say, but so I think what I was going to say is we know that it's a flat earth book because it used the same language, and yes, God could have given these people some type of future knowledge, but the problem is the people they are writing to wouldn't have been able to understand, and you wouldn't have had a Bible today because they would have burnt it. So
See, now the flat earth, sorry, not flat earth, the flat out elected channel can timestamp that. See, coming out of Wayne's own mouth. Even he admits.
Even Solomon talked about the clouds and how they build up and then drop down rain. So
Yeah.
I mean,
that's something that's easily observable, though, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, but if it was a flat earth book, you would always stick to the windows of the firmament.
No,
drop it down the rain.
That only applies to certain cases. If you understood what the flat earthers believe, I think they believe like sometimes that's where water net comes from because the water's above, but there's still clouds that do the rain thing.
well, I like we shouldn't look at what flat earthers today believe. We need to look at what the Hebrews believed about the earth and everything. And like they definitely believe there were windows up there. That's why in Genesis 6, or I'm sorry, Genesis 7, it says the windows of heaven were opened. And people like think that's figurative. No, these people really did believe there were windows in the heavens that opened up.
But do you think that applied to every single time there's a rainstorm, or maybe just for like the flood because it requires that much water, so you have to like let in the water that's above?
Idea. From what I do know, all I've been told, or from my information, is that they believed when it rained, the windows of heaven opened, and that's all the detail I pretty much know.
Okay, where's the mountain that Satan took Jesus up, where he could see the 5 kingdoms?
You know what's funny? More evidence that these people believed in the flat earth, even the New Testament writers, because you can't see the whole kingdoms of the planet from a mountain.
And where is that mountain though?
Oh, I don't. Well, yeah, I don't know, but I also don't need to know that you can't see the whole like world from a mountaintop.
Yeah.
I mean,
unless he was just doing it and then he was just showing him visions of all these things. But then why would he take him up to the mountain in the first place? I just kind of thought about it while I was
a mountain, but
right.
but not a specific mountain. So it could be a vision.
Is God a rock?
No.
Okay. It says God's a rock.
Where?
In the scripture.
Yeah, but where in this?
And also God.
Where's the context?
Hey. God is also a fortress.
A fortress and a buckler.
But it said, like,
But what we're doing.
Where you're going with? Wait. I think I know where that passage is. It says 2 Samuel 22:3, right? God is my rock, my salvation.
There's probably more like that.
Yeah, but
But-
it's
But
simple.
you see what we're doing? We're trying to do what today's flat earthers do. We're trying to make the text so literal that it becomes ridiculous.
Yeah, that it gets to a point where it's just strange.
See, the only problem with that though is that something like that is very clearly metaphor, or something like the whole flat Earth verse is in that.
Same like the windows.
Yeah,
That's not very clearly metaphor.
That's the thing. Like people now, because those verses aren't compatible with science, we say, well, it's a metaphor. No, it's 100% literal. They believed it to be literal, but all you have to do is say, well, they just didn't know. Like the events definitely did happen. There definitely was a flood, but it didn't happen in the way they explained it. Like it wasn't a window that opened up and rain came down. The events definitely did occur, but not in the way they believed it did. And I'm fine with that because they wouldn't have known anyway.
Because, for example, a lot of times, like when people talk about the flood, one of the biggest verses that's debated is Psalms 104:9 because it sinks one position or the other. Metal Minister disagrees. He says that Metal Minister, who advocates for a global flood, and states that even if Psalms 104:9 is a creation psalm, that it doesn't destroy a global flood because it simply means that they can't do it on their own. But I think that's reading modern. But again, I think that approach has the problem of reading modern science into the text rather than getting the meaning from the text. So,
And that's exactly what the flat earthers will try to argue as well. When
And
they
that's
say
what-
that, you're putting modern spin on it. Like just read the text, like Rob Skeeb on his testing the globe.com or whatever. There's a page where he basically says, let the Bible basically speak for itself. Read it as if you didn't know about the Earth being a globe and all that, and see what conclusion you would get.
As I put flat Earth images up on the screen. What?
You don't see them.
Okay, you're not screen sharing.
Me neither.
No. What I'm saying is like, as I put I'm gonna let you think about it. I'm just gonna read these verses, just take snipe a little bit of verses and not bring the full context. As I put this flat Earth image on the article.
Yeah, so your mind's already kind of thinking about that.
Yeah.
Like that. Like if he was writing maybe a book or a post, maybe if you didn't know what the post that was about, that would be the ultimate test. Like don't fill in somebody's brain about what the Earth is flat or whatnot. Just let them read it for themselves without any bias, like round Earth bias or flat Earth bias.
Yeah, because
which would be really hard to do, actually. So,
yeah,
because everybody kind of leans one way or the other. So,
yeah. Hey, Thaddeus, can I ask you a question?
Okay.
Remember when you and I were talking about this issue, and you said that there was this one model that there was circle inside or square outside or something? I don't remember the model.
Yeah.
What was that model again that they presented?
I don't know what it's called.
What?
Okay, how does it work though?
What do you mean by how does it work?
What does it look like? Is it like the Earth is globe, like the Earth is circular, or the outside of it has four corners or something? What was it?
Oh, the pizza box.
Is that it?
Well, something like you have
the flat Earth model. The flat Earth model where this Earth is circle, but there's the ice dome around us and stuff like that.
But there's also the other model you can search up. If you search up flat Earth map or whatnot, you can see an image where there's angels at the four corners of the Earth.
Yeah, because
I mean to interrupt you, Thaddeus, but which that actual specific thing comes from north, east, south, and west.
This one right. My bad. I'm gonna show you right quick. Sorry, Christian man. Go ahead.
You're fine. I mean, I just wanted to say that one quick thing. I'm sorry, Thaddeus. Go ahead.
Okay. Here's the screen share. I think he's talking about this. I might be wrong.
It depends.
That one?
Yes, that one. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
That one, where you can still have a round thing like what they describe, but then you also have the four corners in there as well. So that's an interesting way of looking at it.
I see. Well,
and they're selling them.
yeah. I would say we can't use everything in the Bible to come to a flat Earth because a lot of times flat earthers will use verses like Revelation 7:1 where it talks about four corners of the earth. But I would say if you take it that way, then there's also passages that say the earth is circular. So it's like, so I would ask them.
But you can still have a circular earth.
Flat Earth. Yeah.
We just showed like a lot of the modern flat earther people that believe that the earth can still be circular and be flat. Like it's a circle. Like the ice wall wraps around the earth.
I don't have anything against the flat earthers. I just don't like how they try to demand that the book is saying it's flat earth and it's ambiguous.
Like the thing is, it still works though. I was trying to tell
when they
them.
make the whole entire thing a salvation issue.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't believe you don't believe the Bible then. You don't believe
Yeah.
the Bible.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't even let him talk, and you're interrupting biblical scripture, like Pillbox does.
Oh, Pillbox is a freaking tool.
I know, right? It's
Oh my gosh, I have nothing really good to say about Pillbox. But
yeah, I don't think anyone does.
can I tell you guys my story with Pillbox?
Go ahead.
Wayne, are you okay with this? Achiwa, Thaddeus?
I already know about this one, but go ahead.
Okay.
You told me before.
So I got into the Flat Out Elected group.
Oh,
I got
no.
into one of their hangouts. I won't tell you how, but I actually did. But what happened is that I got in, and then they were talking to a person called Red something. It wasn't Red Orchestra. It wasn't Red Orchestra. It was somebody else.
Red October.
Red October is Pillbox, but it's somebody else. They were talking for a while, and Pillbox instantly strawmanned the dude to what he said, something about like, "Oh, we're just on this planet." Pillbox is is just twisting his words basically.
Mm-hmm.
Which I knew Pillbox is dishonest from the beginning when he said that. But then I said, okay, how about the different constellations from North and Southern? And Pillbox is like, that doesn't disprove the flat Earth. That only proves geocentrism. That would only actually advocate for geocentrism, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I didn't make that as an argument for geocentrism. I made an argument against flat Earth.
Huh, I see.
You see how Pillbox is a tool. I don't really respect Pillbox at all.
Me neither. The guy doesn't know how to let people talk. I watched Christian Anarchist's video on the issue because he showed that how certain flat earthers were showing Discord or whatever. I can't remember. So
Amongst the brethren,
so
Discord among the brethren.
yeah, they sow Discord. But anyways, but then Pillbox completely treated it like it was some kind of salvistic issue. But it's like, dude, if you want to say that certain people are not Christians because they deny things like salvation by grace through faith alone, like certain versions of Catholicism do, fine. Or if you want to say that people like oneness Pentecostals who deny the Trinity and accept Sibelius' teachings of modalism, if you want to say they're not Christians, fine. But it still is just really strange that he's able to make it such a salvistic issue when it isn't even a salvistic issue.
And I think this kind of leads back to what the original hangout was about, kind of, when it comes to Christians mocking other Christians, because let's not just use the flat out elected as a good example, because again, the two that run it might be trolls, but if we just use like going back to just people in general that we think have bad science or basically making the Bible say something it doesn't, to sit there and basically mock these people, and that like some of the people do basically join the skeptic side, like what does that actually accomplish? Especially if you identify as a Christian. It's a little bit different for me, but some of you people, right? Like, do you really think, like I made it, like I said in my post, do you really think Jesus would approve of you guys basically making fun of these people that are
No. But here's the thing.
And that's basically what I was saying, and this is coming from from a person who's called himself a mythotheist.
Yeah, but when I say the pillbox is a tool, I'm not saying to insult or make fun of him because he's a flat earther. I'm saying he's just because he's a jerk.
Yeah, that's my problem. Just get on to him because he's a jerk, and because I have no problem with people believing it necessarily. I don't think it's correct biblically or scientifically, but
yeah, but some of these people in the communities you were discussing earlier, they like hound on people like Antonio and True and Piercism and all that. And like this is coming from other Christians at times. So I mean, at that time, it's like it feels like I've said in my post, it really doesn't seem like that much distinction between some of the, I guess, quote unquote reasonable Christians of the community and basically the skeptics of the community.
So I do think if the reasonable Christians, and I guess General and I will be included in like that camp.
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable.
I guess if all of us and I guess like General and I don't really have to modify as much, but if we all step back from talking about like science and like other issues and like we started to give more of an apologetic, we definitely would see like the hand of, not the hand of God, but I guess the hand of the godless would come down upon us, and like, we would get criticized more if we started bringing out like arguments for God's existence or like Christianity or something like that.
Yeah, and I wonder how many people like, I don't like to bring them up, but screw it. I mean, this is what this is about. People like Jade and Fiona. I wonder how much that many of them actually are scared, like what G-Man says, to bring up their faith about this stuff. Like, do they want to be outed by like the skeptics group? Are they too afraid of losing their tribe? This basically goes down to tribalism.
I don't know.
At the end of the day. Are they afraid of losing that clique here on the internet?
I don't know if that's the case, because Fiona, she made it clear she's not here like to talk about religion or theology or anything like that. She's here for the science. But in the same token, it could be argued just for the sheer fact that you're a Christian, you do have an obligation to proselytize. So
yeah.
But when you feel compelled to you don't just do it on your own, like being fake. If you don't feel compelled to speak about it, I don't think you should. If you don't feel compelled, that's me though. That's what I live by.
But at the same time, for someone like me who kind of calls himself an outsider now, despite the fact that I used to be Christian when I first, or at least identify as Christian when I first joined the community and all that stuff, or at least from that perspective, it's like the reason why people like G-Man that actually got to me, despite identifying as a Christian, them saying that even I wasn't being very Christian-like and all that, is because it's like deep down, a part of me felt they were right. It's like what am I doing? Basically, hanging out with people that are basically just making fun of those kind of people and basically mocking them and all that kind of stuff. That maybe they do have a point. Because otherwise, why would I have gotten so mad about it? As like, as very reactionary, almost like triggered, as they say. So, I mean,
you got triggered.
Yeah. So I think that those type of statements, that even though it seems weird because they're coming from the crazy people that believe this and that about science and all that, sometimes you got to just take a step back, and sometimes you have to say, well, you know what, like they're right. Like if you're a Christian and you identify as that, then like what are you doing? Basically just making fun of your brethren all the time, and to the point where someone like me can easily forget, for a split second or whatnot, that they're a Christian, or they don't feel very Christian-like. I just consider them part of the skeptic crowd. Like, I'm sorry, but I mean, I'm not saying that you're not Christian. Like, again, I'm going to make this clarify. I still think that they could be Christian, but it's like, in my mind, when I think of all the different tribes here, on the Great Debate Community, all the tribalism. It's like they're part of the skeptic tribe. That's just where my brain goes. Skeptic tribe, Steve McRae crowd. That's just automatic, just from their behavior and everything. You know what I mean?
I wanted to say, and yes, I know what you mean. I wanted to say this one more thing though, about flat Earth. Why?
No.
Where is the evidence for the globe though? Like, why is it so easy for flat Earth to just deny it? Has that ever popped in your mind?
Because there is evidence for the globe. You just have to not believe everything that we show you is fake.
It should be more concrete though, right?
It is
concrete. There's experiments you can do.
Right. Have you ever heard the theory of general relativity? I mean, if you don't accept it, I don't know what to tell you.
I'm not even talking about, like, even forget theories and stuff. Just like there's even tests you can do with like math and angles and measuring sun distances and stuff like that.
Well, no, general relativity is a fact. It's not just a theory. It's a scientific fact. Relativity.
Yeah, but the problem is that's not going to help average everyday people. It's not going to help average everyday people because average everyday people don't even know what that do believe that the Earth is a sphere. Don't even know what general relativity is. Like, you ask someone, like, "What's general relativity?" He's like, "Huh? What's that?" So
yeah,
I guess
come on, man. You got to get it down to that layman level. That's what I try to do. At least I want to do. Because it doesn't really help the average public talking about stuff like general relativity and some of the advanced math, because I don't even understand that stuff really.
Me neither.
Like Rand Cam told me one time, if they were to like broadcast the Super Bowl live from the satellite, go from the satellite view down to the Super Bowl, show the time and everything, real time, they would drop it. He would drop it.
Did he tell you about how 66.6 and 666 are the same number?
What?
Huh?
They say what?
Well, he was basically making this point before that he's basically saying how stupid he was saying basically how stupid some of these people that were opposed to the whole flat Earth view were, because they brought up a point where he said that there's a point where he basically said that there's like an angle or something about the angle of the Earth, whatever, if you measure it a certain way, that it's 600, like it's 66.6, something. I don't quite know what he's referring to, but apparently that's close enough to 666 for him to say, "Oh, see, look, this measures at 66.6." So it's basically like they're saying this is 666. You not see the satanic imagery? And then when someone else was calling him out and basically trying to make him sound stupid or whatnot, I think it was One Way or whatnot, basically saying something like, "Well, there's 66 books in the Bible, so does that mean that the Bible's satanic?" He's basically saying, "Oh, you stupid people, don't you not know that 66 and 666 are not the same number?" And I'm going to myself, do you not know that 66.6 and 666 are not the same number either? So, I mean, like there's that too. So I just thought it was an interesting point.
Yeah, I just wish it would be put to bed, to be honest.
Well,
I want to figure out,
Okay.
want them to get the proof 100%.
Prove 100% that the Earth is not flat.
Yeah. Even though we accept the evidence, why are they not accepting the evidence?
Why do people not accept the evidence that the Earth is old? Why do people not accept the evidence for evolution? Why are people denying the fact that gravitational time dilation is a real thing? I don't like cognitive.
It's called cognitive dissonance, indoctrination, and your own confirmation bias. A lot of people just kind of want to believe what they want to believe, despite what evidence is thrown their way.
With a side of mental illness.
Yeah, that too.
I'm sorry to say this, but there are some people who are hiding the fact that they are mentally ill behind the guise of religiosity, and they need help.
Mm-hmm.
What are alleles, Wayne?
Allele frequencies?
No, alleles. What are alleles?
Like allele frequency?
ALLELES.
Right, it had to do with genes.
They're a
Yeah,
variant of a particular gene.
exactly.
Like frequencies?
Like, okay, you have a shirt, that's the gene, but the allele is the brand of the shirt.
Okay.
You don't get that analogy?
I don't know how you're like
Listen,
comparing genetics to shit.
listen to what I'm saying. The gene is a shirt. The allele is the brand of the shirt. Even if you change brands, it's still a shirt.
So yeah, an allele is just a variant of a particular gene. So like if you have a gene for, I don't know, eye color or something, a different color of eye color, if that was how it worked, that would be a different allele.
I know you're talking about a different type of gene, but I just can't help but laugh when you say a gene is a shirt.
So now,
shoot. Well, I've been wearing them wrong.
I learned that from a professor. So laugh all you want.
I don't think you get what I was laughing at, but okay. I just thought it was kind of funny how you said a gene is a shirt. And it's just like,
yeah, the brand is
genes.
the allele. So if you have shoes on, right? You have some dress shoes on. You have the allele of a dress shoe, but it's still a shoe.
Yeah, I get it. I was making a pun.
Okay. I don't know where to laugh.
No one gets I was joking. I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop now.
But how did these alleles change the whole human or the whole species?
What does this have to do with anything? What did you just that question?
Because you said people aren't accepting evolution, right? That's why I brought it up.
But like, you really want to go down like this long rabbit hole of us explaining evolution, and then you don't accept it
again.
Yeah.
Again, right?
I don't accept it. Yeah, and I have my
know
reasons.
how this episode is going to end. I don't like reruns.
That's cool. We can I don't care. I just don't like being, compared to flat Earth.
No, you're not a flat earth. But at the same point, I would just encourage you to do more digging and more research like I did. And if you're open to the evidence, you'll change your mind. And if you're not, then you won't change your mind. Or it could just be that you really can't see the evidence. And I'm cool with that. I would recommend.
Am I mental?
No.
If you go from being a younger creationist to a flat earther, you have issues. You just do. I remember even when I was a younger creationist, I knew some woman, I'm not going to mention her name, and she was a conspiracy theorist, real big conspiracy theorist. And like all the other conspiracy theorists would go to her because she was like, I don't know, she was like the real like go-to conspiracy
theory. Christian level.
Yeah. She was like the woman vigilant Christian. And long story short, she was trying to convince me that the earth was flat. And she's like, yeah, Wayne, her best evidence wasn't evidence. It was an argument. And it was an emotional appeal. So her argument was, if the earth is round, where is God? And I said, well, God is like in another dimension or something like that. Like, of course. And she's like, no, if the earth is flat and the only thing separating us from the third heaven is the dome, where is God? And I said, well, obviously God is like on the other side of the dome. And she's like, exactly. God is closer to you if the earth is flat. Therefore, the earth must be flat.
Check.
And I would just sit here like, you're crazy as I don't know what. You have issues.
I don't know, man. I mean, how simplistic that argument is. I know it's not a really good one, but it's like, since humans are emotional creatures, it tends to work for some people.
Yeah, but for me, I was like, I don't see it. Like, I don't see the evidence that the earth is flat. Like, just because it feels nice and fuzzy that God is right there watching you when you go to the bathroom or something like that.
That doesn't feel so fuzzy.
Like, God is just sitting here, watching you run out of toilet paper. And so he blocked me.
Wait, he's that close. It's like, can you send one down from the firmament?
Right, from the firmament. Like, it rolls of like toiletry coming down.
Yeah. Come on, man. I need some toilet paper. We're gonna be late for my radio show.
You got Bellman and you got Charmin Ultra coming down from heaven.
I want the hot. I want some wings down from heaven as well. Okay, I want some hot. I want some wings.
Hey, this is emergency prayer situation. This isn't fast food delivery.
Oh. Yeah, like the prosperity gospel.
Yeah, what do you think? What do you think this is?
I think that the prosperity gospel is one of the most dangerous misunderstandings of the Bible.
I always thought it was dumb. I never believed in it, and I also never believed in people saying like they can speak in tongues or they can heal people, and they got all these like.
So you didn't come from a semi-Pentecostal background like I did.
No. But I know people who come from background like that, and people, especially people who come from.
Let me tell you, people can speak in tongues. I don't know how supernatural.
Well, no, they can speak in tongues, but tongues is not an actual language. So I've done research behind this, and like there is no phonetic pattern like a real language when people speak in tongues. They literally are just scatting.
Really?
Yeah, tongues is not a real language, and people don't have like the power to go into a hospital and like heal people or raise people from the dead and stuff like that. It would be nice if they did. It would be great. Like if like
those shows where they show people that are healed and they have miracles and stuff.
Oh gosh, that's all just crap. Like you never see an amputee walking up to their front asking for Jesus to heal him or something. I'm not saying
No, I'm not talking about. I'm not talking those people. I'm talking like I know this still might be a bad example, but I've been curious about like those shows where it's like, what is it, like the 700 Club or whatever, where they show like news stories or whatever, or some guy that went through like this tragedy and then he got like magically healed.
Yeah, but they never show medical records or their doctors. I'm skeptical.
Well,
Interesting.
I think those things are possible logically, of course, but however, I don't like. For example, unfortunately, it was true that
that's one of the reasons I still kind of believe. It's like, shoot, you can't just throw away all that.
kind of believe.
Really? I think that's a terrible reason to believe. Oh my gosh.
Well, that's one of the reasons. Because supernatural phenomena is still around. I still believe that supernatural phenomena.
Like,
I mean, you're not going to make me an atheist that quickly, and you just say, "Oh, it's all fake." It's like, really? Have you looked into this stuff?
Yeah, have you looked at near-death experiences?
I don't. So me, I don't believe any near-death experience. I know that's really like shocking for a Christian to say that, but I think they're all just like not true because they weren't necessarily dead. That's why they call it a near-death experience.
Or they could have been dead.
Hey guys.
You never know.
Oh, hey General. You missed like the good part of the.
General, I have a question for you. Look, guys, let me just power through this, say what I got to say, and then we can get back on track. But
okay.
We were having a discussion, General, a couple days ago on the historical context of, I think it was Matthew 18:19, where Jesus says, anything you pray, if two or three you come together and you pray, anything you ask the Father in my name, I'll give it to you. And it was myself and another guy in the room. And we said, no, guys, you aren't interpreting that verse correctly. Because Jesus wasn't talking to us today. He was referring to the audience in his presence. He was talking to his disciples. So he basically made this promise to his disciples, not to you and me.
So wait, there's three of you. You could have done a test.
Well, yeah, obviously it wouldn't have worked. Like I could say Jesus like made General into like a stunning, handsome black guy. Black guy.
Well, I think I'm a mix of black and white anyway, so you have the best of both worlds.
It already happened.
That's 2 out of 3. Jesus,
that solves that mystery, everybody.
I think that passage is historically in that context.
Wait, in the context I had defended it, or in the context everybody else was arguing for?
In the context of the context of Acts. So you're talking about Matthew 18, is it?
I think it's Matthew 18:19, and Jesus is like, hey guys, if it's 2 or 3 you guys and you pray, like God will give you whatever you want. Like, could you imagine if God gave us everything we wanted if like 3 of us just prayed for whatever? Like,
trying to tell me
Jesus.
people wouldn't be trying this like so many
Like,
times.
we just get into like this prayer triangle, and we just pray things down for like God, like
Prayer
I want my boss
triangle,
to be
like some
fired or
sort of
something
like
like
it's like some sort of like weird witch's coven kind of thing. It's like
that.
three people.
Yes,
You can do anything.
like we have like a Christian dance or something like that. We're all just holding hands and chanting and stuff.
Matthew 18. Basically, it's the ultimate reflection is in John 14. So in John in John 14, verse, let's start with verse 12. So true, I tell all of you emphatically, the one who believes in me will also do what I'm doing. Now, that's a pretty remarkable claim. The one who believes in me will also do what I am doing. He will do even greater things than these, because I am going to the Father. I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you ask me for anything in my name, I will do it. The context of John chapters 14 to 16.
It's talking to their disciples. I actually just did an exegesis of this a while ago, if you guys are reading. Because I actually wrote an article on this. It's more of a response to the idea that the Comforter in John 14:16 is Muhammad. This is a common claim by Muslims. But however, it does mention a few things about it, historical context being to the disciples. Like whenever he says, not because you have chosen me, but because I have chosen you in John 15:26, which some Calvinists have actually used to argue for their version of election, which I would say is a terrible argument because it's applying only to the disciples.
Look, I don't want to talk about irresistible rape tonight, okay?
Very funny. I'm just saying. Anyways, the point is, as you can see, the context is clear. It's only about it's all simply about the issue of the disciples. It's not applying to everyone in the world. Otherwise you'd get a prosperity gospel from John chapter 14 through 16 when it says that ask anything in my name and I will do it.
Well, hold on a second though, because I think what's going on here, people are misunderstanding what he means by "in my name," because a lot of people seem to think that just means say Jesus' name, and then it will come true. Like say it like a magical word. But my understanding of the historical context is that when you did something in someone's name, you're doing it on behalf of them. So if you're doing something in Jesus' name, you're literally doing his will. So you're doing the will of God. So in that context,
actually, no, I would disagree with that. To be in his name. So just quickly, if you go to Acts 4. Sorry, it could be Acts 5 actually. At the end of Acts 5, that when they were ridiculed and beaten, so after calling in the apostles and beating them, they again ordered them to stop speaking, notice this, in the name of Jesus. So I thought, being Jew, they should be speaking of Yahweh here. And they left the council rejoicing to have been considered worthy to suffer dishonor for the sake of the name. And the name in this translation is capitalized. So Hashem, in Jewish thinking, Hashem is Yahweh. But the name language is associating Jesus with Yahweh. So if you do anything in my name, it's actually recognizing that Jesus is God. That's the ultimate goal in that.
Right. But I mean, it's still doing it according to, like, I'm getting this authority from Jesus, right?
1 second, there's a lot of sound coming from someone.
Sorry.
But I mean, that doesn't refute the idea that he's just in my name, I'm doing it according to Jesus's authority or from.
Okay, yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
So yeah, my point is that it pretty much has to be that God would do it if you're doing it in his name because you're doing his will.
I was going to ask. I was going to ask.
I just wanted to quickly.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to quickly show this as well. That in John 16, again he repeats it. I'll tell you emphatically, whatever you ask the Father in my name, and so on. But notice in verse 24 he says, "So far you haven't asked for anything in my name." Well, that's because Pentecost hasn't happened yet. And so then again he makes the point that the time's coming when I will no longer speak to you in figurative language, and then later on at that time you will make your request in my name. So, and then when you go to Acts chapter 1, actually he reminds them, he says, leave Jerusalem, instead wait for what the Father promised, about which you heard me speak. And what was that? The Holy Spirit, baptism, the gifts of the Spirit, and everything that happens in Acts. Yeah.
So the point in case is that I was right. No. But he was speaking to his disciples, and he's telling his disciples, anything you ask me to my disciples, yes, I'll give it to you. That's why Peter was hailing people with his shadow, and whenever the disciples were asking for stuff, God was like, bam, you got it. Bam, you got it. And all these miracles and stuff were happening. So because what was going on was we were having a discussion on prayer, and we were talking to Negation to P, and Negation to P was arguing that when they did a study on prayer, it didn't work in most cases. And so he was saying prayer doesn't work in most cases, but Jesus promised that if 3 or more of you prayed and were in agreement, he would always come through or something like that. And so he said, therefore, prayer isn't real or something. And that was his argument. And my argument was, you're interpreting that verse incorrectly. And if God intervened in every single situation we asked him to, it wouldn't be a miracle, because then we could say, hey, look up the street. This guy is praying, and miracles are just we could literally just schedule when we wanted God to intervene and stuff, and it wouldn't be a miracle anymore, would it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of like you learned a little bit of a magic spell, basically.
Right, basically, hey, God, I'm going to schedule you for this call on Friday, but I got a conference call on 6, so I'm gonna bump you up to 7. Come back on Tuesday.
But Wayne, what's really funny about what you just said? That's exactly the idolatry in the Old Testament, because in the Old Testament they made the wooden idol. Logical if you mute yourself.
What?
I'm just getting an echo on your end.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So when they made an idol, they would they believed that the idol could then trap the spirit that they were wanting to get their the miracles to happen from. So they could contain the spirit and trap them for whatever that the human wanted to happen. And then God is the God of Israel is I don't live in temples made by hands. You can't contain me. And so it's sort of this. We're seeing this, unfortunately, with the prosperity gospel today. So Joel Osteen advocating that God deserve to get these miracles. We deserve the gifts and so on. When really, when you look at missionaries in the say in India or in East Asia or even in the Middle East, it's a blessing if a miracle does happen, even though it is rare. But it's a blessing. They don't ask for it. They leave it up to God's sovereignty in that context.
Yeah, if you look at the early Christians too, they were praying for themselves to be martyred, not for them to get a new car. So it's completely contrary to the idea of Christianity. Christianity was never about having things here on earth. It was about dying and then moving on to the next place, really.
Anyway, so Thaddeus, you had a question. Sorry for that.
I was reading the live chat. Someone doesn't necessarily agree with me and thinks I should be on Team Fundy. Anyways, The question I was going to ask you was, what did you think of the post that kind of inspired the hangout? Because I didn't really hear like your full thoughts on it. That's
Yeah,
kind of what the hangout's about.
But I've always voiced that opinion right from the start. In fact, that's probably why, and I really like it that Steve McRae did what he did when he recently titled. Let me just get to it, so I can read the title of it. Building Better Bridges: The Right-Hand Path of General Han Solo. So I think finally I made a dent in the GDC community where they finally, they witnessed a lot of examples of where I've interacted with what they call the clown car posse, and I've continued to voice a concern, like, come on guys, like at the end of the day, we're human beings, treat each other nicely. Obviously the Christian lot should focus on specifically doing that. Now,
that's what
I will be
saying.
honest, I haven't seen, and so I'll be honest, I haven't seen Fiona or Jade sort of thing, the whole done it for the year sort of thing. I haven't seen them doing that since the G-Man debate. Because I remember Fiona herself, and realizing that the love passage in 1 Corinthians 13, that she needs to reflect on that a little bit more. And that was, I think, a week before I debated G-Man. So I haven't really been keeping up to date, but I haven't know if things are still the same. But I suspect things have settled down since that debate. And I think the Steve McRae hangout was an example of that. But yeah. I don't know, what caused you to then write that?
What caused me to write it?
So when anything recent happened for you to write that?
Yeah, actually there was. This is going to sound kind of funny, but the thing that actually inspired me to write it was our little old could be not trolls at Flat Out Elected. But they actually inspired me because I don't know if you saw, but on the Flat Out Elected channel, Rand Campbell did like this video called like I think it's like the wolves that go after the sheep. It's not the sheep that attack the sheep or whatnot. And he did like this little video basically explaining how like Christians basically saying, why are you basically attacking your brothers? Like, why are you making fun of people and stuff, mocking your own people? When, like you should actually be for them and all this stuff. And he basically kind of went on to a ramble, kind of doing his thing. But at the end of the day, even though he might be a troll, and even if I don't believe in the flat earth or anything, he kind of did make a good point, though. It's like, if you're supposed to all be ambassadors for Christ, as people claim to be, then like, why are you basically going after your own people? And why is it that there's some of you that are basically not there's not too much to distinguish you from the skeptics within this community? Like I was saying earlier, like I think that, maybe some people should basically, if you're really that serious about it, should basically be trying to form alliances more, like what General was saying, like the whole thing about basically, it being not just pointing out, not just making sure that other people in the community that are stupid are accountable for their actions, but also the people that are reasonable are accountable for their actions in that as well. And I don't think, again, I understand that, this is just the internet and people are, I do view it as entertainment. So if people never change, part of me says, never change. This is kind of funny this way. But at the same time, I kind of do look at it and go, if you're serious about it and you want your little community to turn into something more than just like a laughing stock at the end of the day, where someone like me who feels like I'm not on either side can just look at and point and laugh at everybody at times. If you want it to be more than that, then I think people should really work on, what would Jesus actually want you to do as far as dealing with some of these brethren of yours that believe in things like young earth creationism, that believe in things that you guys think are heresies, believe in things like the flat earth.
Yeah.
And it's just some food for thought. And it's like, you know what, I'm going to make a post about this because it seems like this isn't really being addressed. Instead, we just have like the same old tribes going after same old tribes. So it's like,
You're
I
absolutely
kind of just made a post kind of saying like, basically, you know, Rand Campbell's right. No, what's your actual alliance here, man? Like what's more important to you? You know, staying within your clique, or basically working with people that you might not agree with everything on, but for the greater good. If you guys really believe it that much.
Well,
Like, as I stated in my post, someone like me or Pin Valentine or whatnot, when we do our show or whatnot, it's like, you know, we're not really obligated to do that because we're not acting as the ambassadors of Christ. Okay? But people that claim to be acting as them probably should be doing a better job, in my opinion. I don't know.
Well, like I said before, I guess if like the Christians who like will be associated on the skeptic side, I guess like if like Jay, Fiona, who else is on there? Is there like another Christian person who like nobody recognizes? This somebody isn't. Well, he isn't really. Well, because you know what's funny? There are like other Christians on like the other side of the fence. So there's what they call the CCP, and then the other community. There are Christians besides Jade and Fiona who hang out like in that clique, but we don't recognize them. So I guess to those Christians, if they shared their faith more, like I said, and like if they like, I really do want to see like Jade or Fiona or isn't Druss or Drux or something like that, or Druce, isn't he a Christian? And then Gary,
I don't think so.
No, well, who like the other people who like whose name we probably would have like forgotten.
Dress is a pagan, actually.
Oh, well. If any of those other Christians like if they made even just like a video like arguing for God's existence or arguing for like I don't know the historicity of the Bible or something like that, or like making any type of like theological argument, I would be interested because I'd be curious to know how that would go. Because I do have this.
They would argue. I know this for sure. Fiona and Jade, they won't argue from an apologetic context. So it's just their presence and their honesty in the sciences alone. Shove away their faiths. Just put it aside, and it's just them, right? It's just Fiona and Jade and their knowledge in biology. That is. Let me just put it this way: that is sufficient in itself to make people like Steve McRae and all those other guys to then appreciate their presence and hence have them as a spoken authority on certain topics. The unfortunate thing, so that's the good side, but then a potential bad side of that is if they only remain in that role and not do what I kind of do is then add in the Christian element now and then, and you've seen that happen now and then where even though they respect my presence there, then if there's a topic that aligns with, say, something to do with the Bible, and up to the defense of it, and then there's a discussion that takes place. But that's something I don't see Jade and Fiona doing. So
thanks. That's something that I was trying to I know sometimes my words can come out wrong, but it's like I'm trying to basically say, like, again, it's not me saying, oh, they're not true Christians. I'm not trying to pull a G-man here. I know some people might interpret it that way, but what I'm basically saying, it's like, sadly, because you guys don't really deal with the Bible all that much when it comes to these discussions, it really does seem like G-man and them are being a better representation of Christianity, in my opinion. Which is not
not a better representation, but I guess he is
a bigger representation.
Well,
larger presence.
Presence.
So I guess you could say he showcases the faith more, but like he does showcase it, and he does let people know like this is my stance and etc. So he's vocal about it. But I guess I would also say, I don't really see, like them like giving an apologetic approach. They don't, like I said, they don't have to necessarily to be a Christian, but you would expect somebody who has a strong Christian faith to proselytize. So I think Penn Jillette, he put it perfectly. He said, "How much do you have to hate somebody to not proselytize your faith if you really do believe that people are going to hell?"
Yes, yes, like that is a good point. And I understand that it's not the point everybody likes to hear, because shoot, back when I identified as a Christian, there's a lot of people that I probably should have been telling, you know, they're going to hell and all this stuff, and I didn't hate them. So, you know, I was guilty of that too.
Well,
but it's like, it says something about you. It's like, do you really care about your faith that much? Do you really believe what you believe that much? Like, how important is it to you at the end of the day?
it could just be that, yeah. It could just be that they just don't think about the theological side of it that much, and so they don't speak about. Because you usually talk about what you think about a lot of times. So it could just be maybe they devote most of their time to science rather than theology, like I've been saying. So
I'll just say that this has nothing to do with Fiona as a person. This is not meant to be derogative or anything like that. I consider her a Christian. I consider her saved. But I remember once we were this is probably about 2-3 months ago, we were in a discussion with Reds and Hannah, and I think also Steve was in the room. And it was just a general chit chat that was taking place. And then I don't know how this came up, but Fiona said, "Oh, if you were to ask me about, say, the book of Ezekiel, and just, you know, what is Ezekiel about, and so on." And I quote, she said, "I have no idea. I haven't even read the book." So, and then to me, being silent in the room, I'm thinking to myself, but at the same time, you're a Christian, and you believe in this thing called the Bible that echoes, you know, God's revelation and so on. So surely you should have the invested interest you have in regards to the sciences. Surely you should have even just a general invested interest in, say, all the books, not exhaustively, but in some sense, a genuine interest in the weirdness of certain passages here and there, and definitely in Ezekiel. But yeah, how would, so then this would be my question back to Thaddeus. How would someone like Fiona, who admittedly says she has no idea about certain things, how could then she be an apologist in that regard? Like she'll only be an apologist through actions rather than an intellectual dialogue.
That's the thing. I don't think everybody would be. Well, here's the thing. First of all, you're asking the wrong person. Because I don't really consider myself a Christian, so why would I be the authority on that kind of thing? But
no, this is just part of the discussion we're having at the moment.
Okay, but just from my perspective, I don't think everybody, you know, if you consider God a reasonable guy, I don't think he made everybody to be an apologist. Like, you know, not everybody is supposed to be out there, you know, basically making all these different arguments for faith and all that. However, I do think, you know, maybe everybody is still supposed to play their part in helping lead people to the gospel. So maybe she can do it like in different ways. Like she might not be super versed in the theology and the hermeneutics and all this other stuff, because, you know, I find that stuff kind of boring too. But at the same time, when it comes to that kind of stuff, maybe instead of teaching about like what the Bible, you know, all the different technical things behind it, to just, you know, live out the level, you know, of a Christian, and basically, you know, show by her actions that.
Yeah, but that's what I was getting at. So let's then translate that to just her actions alone. Forget the Bible. Would that be sufficient then?
Just the actions alone? I don't think so. Like there has to be a little bit of that. I know what you're saying. There has to be a little bit of that in there, but I don't think it all has to be to the. It doesn't have to be to the level of someone like Matt Slick.
Okay.
Hey, General,
Like that's
I was talking to a LC about a potential how would you say it, a representation to the Trinity, but I think it has some problems with it.
Yeah, he was talking about say the thing is like he was talking about like how each of the members were like a third of the whole thing, but I would say you got to be careful with that because